Okay, we're going to do 7.5 notes, which is the unit circle on 30 and 60 degrees on page 15. So we're going to find the trig ratio of 30 and 60 degree triangles in the unit circle. So this is our unit circle again. Yesterday we had both legs be 1 and 1 because the angle was 45. But this is not 45 degrees. That means that the legs in my triangle are not going to be equal. So I'm still not going to have the hypotenuse be 1. I'm going to save that for tomorrow. Instead, I'm going to keep the side that's 1 the easiest side possible. So 30 degrees, that's less than 90 degrees. So this is right here, connecting to the x-axis to create a right angle. This will be 30 degrees. We learned that in a 30, 60, 90 triangle, opposite the 30 is the smallest side. So that's the side I'm going to make 1. Without labeling it, this angle up here is 60 degrees. And we know opposite the 60, you multiply by the square root of 3. And then the hypotenuse is double the smallest side, so that would be 2. So notice this is similar to the 45, 45, 90 in that the hypotenuse has a 2 in it. However, this is not the square root of 2, it's just a whole number 2. The square root is over here opposite the 60 with the square root of 3. You have to keep these patterns in your head. You have to memorize this. Another place in the unit circle where you will have a 30 degree reference angle is at 150 degrees. Notice that's more than 90 but less than 180, so it's over here. Connect it to the x-axis. So if this part is 150, the angle inside the triangle has to be 30. Opposite the 30 is the smallest side, 1. Opposite the hidden 60 is root 3, and the hypotenuse is 2. Left is negative, up is positive. At 210, notice that's more than 180 but less than 270. It's more than 180 by 30 degrees, so it's going to be here with my reference angle of 30 degrees. Opposite the 30 is the smallest side, 1. Opposite the hidden 60 is root 3. The hypotenuse is 2. Left is negative, down is negative. Remember, the hypotenuse is always positive. The last place you can have a 30 degree reference angle is 330 degrees. So notice that's more than 270, less than 360. So it's going to be right here. If this is 330 degrees, the angle in my triangle has to be 30 to make a full circle. Opposite the 30 is the smallest side. Opposite the hidden 60 is root 3. The hypotenuse is 2. Right is positive, down is negative. That's the 4 places you can have a reference angle of 30 degrees. So number 1 says to make a sketch of the angle, find its reference angle, then evaluate the function without a calculator. So we're going to draw T. 150 degrees, that's more than 90, less than 180, so it's over here. If this is 150 degrees, in the line you have 180, so that makes this angle 30. Opposite the 30 is 1. Opposite the hidden 60 is root 3. The hypotenuse is 2. Left is negative, up is positive, and the hypotenuse is always positive. Cosecant is the reciprocal of sine. Remember, they're backwards from each other. So this is hypotenuse over opposite. So the hypotenuse is 2. Opposite the reference angle is 1. 2 divided by 1 is 2. For 330 degrees, you have 90, 180, 270, 360. So that's going to be here, connecting to the x-axis. If this is 330 degrees, the angle in my triangle has to be 30 to make a full 360. Opposite the 30 is 1. Opposite the hidden 60 is root 3. The hypotenuse is 2. Right is positive, down is negative. Secant is a reciprocal of cosine. So it's the hypotenuse, which is 2, over adjacent to my reference angle is the square root of 3. I have to rationalize. The number on top stays on top, the square root moves up, and then the number comes out of the root on the bottom. So it's 2 root 3 over 3. Okay, this one is the negative angle, which means I'm going to go clockwise 150 degrees. So we have 90, 180. So it's between 90 and 180. If this is 150 degrees, the angle in the triangle has to be 30 to make 180. Opposite the 30 is 1. Opposite the hidden 60 is root 3, and the hypotenuse is 2. Left is negative, down is negative. Cosecant is the reciprocal of sine. So we have h over o. So the hypotenuse is 2. Opposite my reference angle is negative 1. And then 2 divided by negative 1 is negative 2. You try D. Okay, you should have gotten this. So 30 degrees more than 360. Opposite's 1. Opposite the hidden 60 is root 3. The hypotenuse is 2. Tangent is O over A, so it's 1 over the root 3, and then you rationalize. Try E. Hopefully you notice that this ends in a 5. Whenever you see it end in a 5, your reference angle's 45. So 135 degrees in the negative direction, which is over here. Notice 135 plus 45 makes 180. And then the legs are equal. They're both 1. The hypotenuse is root 2. Left is negative, down is negative. And then cosine is adjacent over hypotenuse. So negative 1 over root 2, which rationalizes to negative root 2 over 2. Try F. Okay, so 150 degrees in this direction, more than 90, less than 180. Opposite's 1, adjacent's negative root 3. The hypotenuse is 2. Sine is O over H, so 1 over 2. So we're going to convert these to radians. So you multiply by pi over 180. So that gives you 30 pi over 180, which reduces to pi over 6. Notice this is kind of annoying. The 6 with pi over 6 matches the 30-degree angle. It was nice yesterday when it was pi over 4 because that matched with 45. The 4s went together. But here it's not going to work. We have the 6 here with the 30 here. So whenever you see a denominator of 6, you should be thinking 30 degrees. So if I multiply 150 by pi over 180 and then reduce that fraction, I get 5 pi over 6. 210, when I multiply it and reduce, I'm going to get 7 pi over 6. And 330 degrees is 11 pi over 6. So my picture is going to look the same. We're just going to label the reference angle with pi over 6. So notice a sixth of a pi is less than half a pi. So it's going to be here, where this is a sixth of a pi. This still is 30 degrees. So opposite is 1, adjacent is root 3, the hypotenuse is 2. 5 pi over 6, that's more than half a pi, but less than a full pi, so it's over here, where this is a sixth of a pi. If this is 5/6, this is 1/6 to make a full pi. Again, this is equal to 30 degrees, so opposite's 1, adjacent's root 3, hypotenuse 2, left is negative. 7 pi over 6, that's 1 1/6 pi. So more than a full pi by a sixth of a pi, so it's over here. And then finally, this is a mixed number, is 1 5/6 pi. So that's more than 1 pi, more than 1.5, but less than 2, so it's down here. Whenever you see a 6 in the denominator, the angle is pi over 6, which is equal to 30 degrees. So let's do this problem. Notice this is an improper fraction. We're going to have to write it as a mixed number. So 6 goes into 11 once, with 5 left over out of the 6. So it's 1 and 5/6 pi. So every 90 degrees is half a pi. So we have half a pi, 1 pi, 1.5 pi, 2 pi. Notice it's more than 1.5 but less than 2, so it's going to be here. The denominator is 6, so my angle is 1 pi over 6. This is equivalent to 30 degrees. So opposite is 1. Opposite the hidden 60 is root 3, and the hypotenuse is 2. Right is positive, down is negative. We're looking for the sine ratio, which is O over h. So from my angle, opposite is -1, and the hypotenuse is 2. For B, 6 does not go into 5, so I can't write that as a mixed number. We're going in the negative direction, which is clockwise. 5/6 of a pi, that's more than half a pi, but less than a full pi, so it's going to be over here. If the denominator is 6, the angle is pi over 6, which is equivalent to 30 degrees. Opposite the 30 is 1. Opposite the hidden 60 is root 3. The hypotenuse is 2. Left is negative, down is negative. We're looking for the cosine ratio, which is Ka, A over H. So from this angle, adjacent is negative root 3, and the hypotenuse is 2. You try C. Okay, so this would be as a mixed number, -3 and 1/6 pi. So if you go half a pi 1, it's in the negative direction, so half a pi down here, 1, 1.5, 2, 2.5, 3, 3.5. So notice it's between 3 and 3.5. This is what your picture should look like. Cosine is Ka, adjacent over hypotenuse. Try D. Okay, so as a mixed number, this is 2 and 1/6 pi. So we're going half pi 1, 1.5, 2, 2.5. This is less than 2.5, so it's in quadrant 1. And then we label our angles with our sides. And then cotangent is a reciprocal of tangent, so it's adjacent over opposite. So root 3 over 1 is root 3. Okay, we're going to do this all over again, this time with 60 degrees. So notice that's more than 30, more than 45. It's way up here at 60 degrees. So now your brain has to think that this is now switched. Notice the 30 is up here. And then the opposite, the 60, we said is root 3. So notice this is backwards. We have the hidden 30 up here, so that's the 1. But notice the hypotenuse is still going to be 2. At 120, that's more than 90 but less than 180. So this is going to be 60. Again, opposite the 60 is root 3. Opposite the hidden 30 is 1. And the hypotenuse is going to be 2. This is left, so it's negative. At 240, you have 90, 180, 270. So notice it's going to be here. If this is 240, past the 180, it's more than 180 by 60. Opposite the hidden, or the 60 is root 3. Opposite the hidden 30 is 1, and the hypotenuse is 2. Left is negative, down is negative. At 300, that's more than 270 but less than 360. So it's going to be here. It's 60 degrees less than 360. Opposite the 60 is root 3. Opposite the hidden 30 is 1. The hypotenuse is 2. Right is positive, down is negative. And the hypotenuse is always positive. So cosine of 240 degrees, we're going to go 90, 180, 270. So notice that's less than 270, so it's here. If this angle is 240 degrees, notice this is 180 here, so this is another 60 here. So opposite the 60 is root 3, opposite the hidden 30 is 1, and the hypotenuse is 2. Left is negative, down is negative. We're doing the cosine ratio, which is Ka over h. So from this angle, adjacent is -1 and the hypotenuse is 2. For B, we're going 90, 180, 270, 360. Notice I have to keep going, so that would be another 90, which is 450. Notice this is less than that, so it's going to be here. 360 plus another 60 makes 420. Opposite the 60 is √3. Opposite the hidden 30 is 1, and the hypotenuse is 2. Right is positive, up is positive. Cosine is Ka over h, so it's adjacent over hypotenuse, 1 over 2. Try C. Make sure you go in the negative direction. All right, so going negative 150 degrees, that would mean this angle is 30. When it's 30, opposite the 30 is 1. Opposite the hidden 60 is √3. The hypotenuse is 2. Left is negative, down is negative. Cosine is Ka over h, so negative √3 over 2. Try D. Okay, so for D, going in the negative direction, this would be 60 degrees. Opposite the 60 is √3. Adjacent is 1. Opposite the hidden 30. And then the hypotenuse is 2. Right is positive, down is negative. You're looking for cosecant, which is the reciprocal of sine, so it's h over o. The hypotenuse is 2. Opposite the 60 was negative √3. And then you rationalize and get negative 2 √3 over 3. Converting to radians now, you multiply by pi over 180. You get pi over 3. For 120, when you multiply, you get 2 pi over 3. Multiplying 240, you get 4 pi over 3. And for 300, you're going to get 5 pi over 3. Notice how frustrating this is. So the 60-degree angle is pi over 3. Wouldn't it be nice if it was pi over 6? So you have to remember pi over 3 goes with 60, and then pi over 6 goes with 30. So you have to keep that straight in your head where they're backwards. So labeling our picture, notice this is less than half a pi. So this is pi over 3, which is equivalent to 60. So that would make this √3, this 1, and this 2. At 2 pi over 3, that's more than half a pi, but less than a full pi. So this is where it would be. If it's always 3 here at the bottom, it's going to be pi over 3 as your angle. And then at 4 pi over 3, this is a improper fraction, so that is equivalent to 1 1/3 pi. So here's 1 pi and 1 1/2. So notice it's less than that. So this is 1, and then 1/3 of a pi is what's in the triangle, which is equivalent to 60. So that's opposite is negative √3. Opposite the hidden 30 is -1, and the hypotenuse is 2. 3 goes into 5 one time with 2 left over, so 1 2/3 pi. So we have 1 1/2, and it's more than that, so it's going to be over here. So we have 1/3 of a pi. Opposite that is the √3. Opposite the hidden 30 is 1. Hypotenuse is 2. Right is positive, down is negative. So we have to rewrite this as a mixed number. So we have 3 goes into 7 twice with 1 left over, because 3 times 2 is 6, plus 1 more is 7, so it's 2 1/3 pi. So half a pi 1, 1 1/2 2, and 1/3 pi. It's less than 2 1/2. If this is over 3, this angle is pi over 3. Remember, this is equivalent to 60. So opposite that is √3. Opposite the hidden 30 is 1, and the hypotenuse is 2. Right is positive, up is positive. Secant is the reciprocal of cosine. Remember, these are backwards. So the hypotenuse is 2. The adjacent to this angle is 1. 2 divided by 1 is 2. For b, we have to write this as a mixed number. So 6 goes into 13 twice with 1 left over. So we're going half a pi 1, 1.5, 2, 2.5. It's between 2 and 2.5 pi. If this is over 6, this is pi over 6, whatever the denominator is. And remember, pi over 6 is equivalent to 30. Opposite the 30 is 1, your smallest side. Opposite the hidden 60 is root 3, and the hypotenuse is 2. Cotangent is the reciprocal of tangent, so it's going to be A over O. So from this angle, adjacent is root 3, and then the opposite is 1. Root 3 divided by 1 is root 3. Try C. Okay, going in the negative direction, this 3 goes into 11 3 times. So that would be 3 2/3 pi. So half pi 1, 1.5, 2, 2.5, 3, 3.5, 3 2/3. So it would be right here, where this is pi over 3, which is equivalent to 60. So this would be root 3. Opposite the hidden 30 is 1. The hypotenuse is 2. And then the sine ratio is so, O over H. So it's root 3 over 2. Try D. Okay, so this one is 1.25 pi in the negative direction. So you have half pi 1, 1.5. So it's going to be over here. The denominator is 4, so this is pi over 4. The legs are equal in pi over 4 because it's a 45, 45, 90. And then the hypotenuse is the square root of 2. Don't forget the square root. Left is negative, up is positive. So your tangent ratio is TOA over A. So you get 1 over negative 1, which reduces to negative 1.